All right, this is Hyperborean Radio, Celtic God speaking. I hope everybody's doing all right. Today is AethelWulf's birthday, so this is his birthday gift. I hope everybody tells AethelWulf happy birthday. Congratulations on living a year longer than you did last year. And further good news, we have a new publication out. It's on Blurb. You can follow the link tree down below. Hook us up. It's a new company, so if you had problems getting the last one, don't worry about it. This is a completely new company, completely new book, and this one is a prototype. So, and then we're only going to have it for a limited time. So if you want to get like the first publication under this title, and now's the time to get it. No guarantee on how long it's going to stay available through the current platform that's on. But with us today is the Lore Keeper. We also have Dreadwolf and AethelWulf himself. So I'm going to swing the mic away from myself and let everybody say hello.
Hey everybody, it's the Lore Keeper here, or in the chat, I'm Sir Isaac. That's based on an old nickname. It's not a religious thing, it's just literally I used to be called Sir Isaac Newton in college, so that's why I have that as a nickname there. But the main star of the show is AethelWulf, so I'll pass it on over to Dreadwolf and AethelWulf, and they can chitter-chat as much as they'd like.
Dreadwolf can go before me.
Oil sport. Hi everyone. My name is Dreadwolf Fenwell. You can call me Mike, as that's what I'm known with my published stories anyway. I'm here because obviously Halloween is time for good spooky stories, and obviously it's Wolfie's birthday. Happy birthday, AethelWulf. In the chat, it should be fairly obvious I'm the Dreadwolf Fenrir. Glad to be on the show. It's been a little while since I've had the chance of being here, and it's good to be back. I look forward to chatting and talking my favourite subject, well, one of my favourite subjects, which is horror.
Yeah.
The horror! The horror!
And to the birthday wolf himself, AethelWulf.
Thank you very much. Greetings and salutations. Happy Halloween, happy Samhain to all our listeners. It's AethelWulf here for the evening. I hope everyone is well. As for myself, I've been hard work producing our news publication, including multiple ads and illustrations, which have been a rewarding experience, all things considered. We released the book on the 25th of October on the publishing site called Blurb, which I do believe is doing fairly well. So it's great to see our work paying off. But overall, I am in a rather jovial and cheerful mood, as my favorite holiday is upon us.
Oh, I'm going to use that moment for one of my patented smooth segues. I'm actually excited for the next book that we're going to be doing. Dark romanticism.
Romanticism, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I got the word right. The king, Edgar Allan Poe. He is the king of dark romanticism. But it's an art genre. Yeah, it's a poetic genre. It is a storytelling genre. It's really cool. And I'm actually excited to start on that.
Yes, most definitely. As for those who are not sure of what we're talking about, dark romanticism is literally a subgenre of romanticism which focuses primarily on the dark, eerie, and macabre aspects of art. We have many prominent figures, as CG said, of the movement, such as Edgar Allan Poe, as well as George Emil Lebert, who is an iconic painter of the nocturnal setting, including John Atkinson Grimshaw, who painted urban night scenes, which are truly ethereal because of the atmosphere of his paintings, especially his inclusion of the moon peering through thick clouds. His work is attractive to those who have a fascination of dark paintings with minimal luminosity, unless to create highlights which separates the elements in the painting. But some of the paintings give the impression that Halloween or some extension thereof served as some inspiration, as well as the curiosity of the unknown of the artist to explore that which is beyond sight. But our people have been drawn to such mystique for millennia. We have many goddesses who personify night, the moon, and perhaps the stars. It's sort of the best way to convey our fascination of that which is unknown to us.
Well, and
That's something.
well,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for the people that don't understand exactly what we're talking about with the art, because you're describing it accurately. It's pretty much
Yeah.
the art where you see the it's got the monsters in it. The old artwork that has the monsters in it, to make it really simple. It might be gargoyles or the succubus or the ones with the vampires or the skeletons or the werewolves. It doesn't always have that, but that's the general feel for them. And they're literally dark paintings, typically. I have, in researching this, I have come across a couple that are a little bit brighter, but they're still just, it's got that horror aspect to it. It's actually horrifying because it is bright. But it's not, it doesn't have, what's that word, the luminescence, where it looks like the painting is glowing.
Lofty, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have that to it.
That would be luminism, yeah.
Yeah. There'll be like a small little portion that has that in there, which also has tendency to make them look oddly darker because of the light.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I want to do
it.
is simplify it so that people that might not be so familiar with the art world, so they can get an idea of what kind of artwork it is. It's literally the darker painting, the darker horror paintings, the ones that's meant to be creepy.
And the attraction of dark romanticism is the motivation to produce our next book, because we just have an absolute fascination of the genre itself.
And yeah, pretty much as a people. If
Yeah.
you doubt that, really look at the most popular comic books, which draw inspiration from that, are horror movies. Because the dark romanticism is a direct influence on the modern day horror genre. It actually spawned it because it didn't really exist before that, not as we think of it. So yeah, we love it.
Well, yes, and it's something that I think is people focus on the light or they focus on the dark. And this is actually a bit of a problem, is that there's so little balance. And people will equate the darkness to evil. So like spirits of cold, spirits of darkness, spirits who, I don't know, like the taste of man meat or long pig as evil. But it's not evil so much as this is different. And it's something that we actually talked about it last time.
What's that one painting?
Kronos eating his kids?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of them. It is utterly horrifying, but it is masterful. Everybody recognizes it.
Well, and I think the best stories also, they toss aside the good and evil, and they actually allow for nuance, which is very important. Like, for instance, this is actually a favorite film of a friend of ours, McThunder, who's in the chat, which is Nightbreed. I personally was kind of meh on it, but it doesn't really have the monsters, the literal monsters, as the bad guy. They're more just different. And I think that that's something that's important to bring up is, you know, it's like fire. An uncontrolled fire and not knowing how to react around fire can not only be scary, but it can be deadly. Not knowing how to act around bears can be scary and deadly. But in general, these things are not inherently harmful. And it's the same with spirits. You know, it's like a will-o'-the-wisp. A will-o'-the-wisp could lead you to your doom, your death. But not necessarily. Sometimes they'll lead you to treasures. Sometimes they're literally just bobbing up and down, and it's your own fault if you follow them off a cliff, because they're not really, they're minding their own business. It's something that we've lost, is this ability for conception and nuance. Everything comes from the side of, we are inherently the center of everything. And therefore, whatever is anti-us or does not help us is inherently bad. A poison is not inherently evil. It is merely a poison. A A dog that will kill somebody is not inherently an evil dog. And that is something that I think a lot of people miss, is just because something's dangerous doesn't make it evil. It's like with the giants, for instance. Everyone tries to make the Jotuns evil. They've constructed this subcategory of Norse paganism, which in and of itself is complicated, but it called Rockatru, which is basically giant veneration. And they mark the giants as the evil ones. The Rockatru don't, but the other two, the Vanatru and the Asatru, which in general, this whole categorical bullshit is just nonsense. But this category focuses on the giants, and the giants are the gods of natural processes. A tornado doesn't care if it blows your house down. It was just in the way.
Yeah, it's also not aiming for your house.
It's not aiming for your house either. That's just the direction it went. A wildfire doesn't care if you get caught in the blaze.
Must just happens to be there.
Yes. Yeah. And that's what people are missing. It's like me and CG were talking about how houses used to have a hearth and a forge, and they'd sometimes be on the same wall, just on opposite sides. One is outside, one is inside. And they've actually lost the ability to know when this is a forge, even though there's evidence there that it's a forge. Like, they have a post in the ground for the anvil. It's very obvious what it is. But because they can't fathom that this would be a thing, it's a place to spread the ashes to. We've become so civilized and so separated. This is why everyone always goes occulty and esoteric with how they get things. And it makes for good horror movies. Like plenty of, like, what's it called? Hellraiser. The one with, like, the BDSM chained flesh demons, whatever. That is a very occult-oriented film.
Just cut you off. If you want to find a novelization of it, it's called The Hellbound Heart, which is quite different to the film. Although the film is excellent, but I would recommend getting the book as well. Sorry to cut you off there, right?
Well, the books are always better than the movies. Always. Simply because they have a bigger palette.
Yeah.
There are exceptions, but they're exceptions to the rule. They don't themselves break the rule.
They're called exceptions.
Yes, like
They have an unlimited stretch of the imagination.
Like, I have read Fight Club and I have watched Fight Club, and the movie is far better than the book. The book does have some very key differences, like the line where Marla says, "I haven't been fucked like that since grade school." In the book, it's, "I want to have your abortion," because the author wanted to convey the kind of love that a woman has when they want to have a man's baby. But Marla is such a messed up individual in the book that that's the only way she knows how to convey that emotion, is, "I want to have your abortion." Not your baby, your abortion, because that's how messed up a person she is in the book. But the movie is far better, in my personal opinion. It delivers the point better. Sorry, what?
I want to know why you're talking about it. You don't remember that? How can you read the book and watch the film and not think of that? Remember that joke?
I couldn't hear you, dude.
Yeah. You cut out.
I'm
sure it was quite funny.
I said, why are you talking about it?
Oh,
Fight
yeah.
Club.
Why are you talking about it? It's a reference to Fight Club, yeah. I was going to ask a question. What is everybody's favorite Edgar Allan Poe story? Writing? Let's go with writing, because he did both poems and writings. So what is everybody's favorite Edgar Allan Poe writing? I know what mine is. I don't know what your guys' is.
Well,
you go first, because you're
I'll
right.
definitely. I would say The Raven is my favorite of Edgar Allan Poe's stories.
Yeah, I'm going to be generic and go to Raven as well.
Yeah.
I've read a bit of Edgar Allan Poe, and honestly, I'd probably say The Raven, but just to be different, just to embrace my millennialness and pretend to be different for a little bit. What's it called? Lenore, and the
Yeah,
sort
yeah.
of melancholic feel of that. That is a great story, and actually conveys that sort of Halloween tradition, even if unintentionally, of sleeping atop the graves, because it's implied he lays atop the grave of his beloved Lenore. I will say the Telltale Heart is really overrated. As is Murder in the Rue Morgue. Like, I understand, like, it's like the beginning of a genre, but that does not inherently make it good. It makes it historically important as a precedent, but it does not inherently make the tale good.
No, really, I mean, it's a good story. I wouldn't necessarily say it's his best, which, but even so, I'll still take it over most fucking modern day stories. So it gives you a
Well, it's hard to not be able to defeat, steampunk cowgirl with a lesbian relationship, and they solve it all with hugs and cuddles.
yes. Of course, another one as well. I suppose back then is the Penny Dreadful dime novels as well. From back then, like when horror really, I suppose horror started with Edgar Allan Poe, but obviously Penny Dreadful, as well, like dime novels. Some Wild Bill Hickok dime novels too were more thriller, admittedly.
I would actually argue that horror is really freaking old. But like as a literary genre, yeah, you could give it to, it sort of coalesced in Edgar Allan Poe. But
Well, I'd say horror has been around since we
always.
first began walking this over. Yeah, a lot of the folk tales and that. I mean, you could always tell that they were horror. Really, it's some of like the old children's tales and all that. You think, so
Watch out, boy, the witch is gonna suck the marrow from your bones.
Well, yeah, when you think about like old warnings, if you go down there, the old hag will get you and stuff like that. That's been around since even before medieval times. You think before Christianity got a hold of, like making the devil and if you play this song or you go here, the devil's going to get you and stuff like that. I think you go back to old English folk tales about like demon dogs, like the Barcass and stuff like that, or the Beast of Bodmin and.
Well, and a lot of that is bastardized pagan stuff, because like the black dogs, the Grimhounds, were not inherently negative. Mm-mm. They were fertility spirits, and in some cases, ancestors or gods. The Grim is specifically a fairy associated with it, but they're very old and they're very important. And we have not heard enough from the birthday boy. How are you doing, Neil? Did we get too far off topic?
Quite well. No, not at all. It's great to see that we can have a conversation of whichever comes to mind that is relevant to Halloween. So yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
You know what comes to my mind? Just how freaking expensive it is to send something to South Africa. Holy crap!
Export and export charges, that's the true horror.
Right, it's like whatever it is that you're sending, just double the price, because that's what it's going to cost you to ship it.
Sure.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, that's quite exorbitant.
But yeah, one of my favorite stories from the genre, and it is not an Edgar Allan Poe story, but I'm not even sure the name of the title, but I'm going to try and say that the one is an Edgar Allan Poe story. It's the one with the heartbeat, where he's consistently hearing the heartbeat and he ends up going insane. What story is that? It's the Telltale Heart.
Not Pits in the Pendulum.
He ends up going insane through the story, and it's been a long time since I read it, but yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. Is
the Telltale Heart?
Yeah, I believe that's the one. I haven't read it in probably 20 years. That's why I forgot the title of it. Well, that, and I'm not good with names anyways, but it's a really good story. And that's one thing that I like about Edgar Allan Poe's stories is he sets up a monster or something really scary, and most of the time it turns out to be either in the person's head or the person themselves. There's another one I really like. I can't remember who it's by, but Monkey Paw. It's in the same genre. Excellent story.
Well, I just remembered what's probably one of my favorite stories from Edgar Allan Poe, which is The Cask of Amontillado.
Is that the one with the guy in the wall?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah, where he basically says, I've got a cask of Amontillado, and he gets this guy, and he basically gets him into an area and then slowly walls him up in...
Yeah, I was torn between the Heartbeat one and that one.
I don't think I've ever read Pit and the Pendulum. If I have, it was unimpressive because I don't remember it. But with all that, let's sort of move into more modern horror because we sort of talked about Edgar Allan Poe. You could do we could do multiple shows just on Edgar Allan Poe. But horror continued from there, and you have like the Victorian era, and as Dreadwolf brought up, the Penny Dreadfuls, and you have sort of this development of this horror genre, which at the time was
really Solomon Kane kind of falls under that
as
well.
Solomon Kane and most of both Lovecraft and Howard's works. But you also have like the classics, Dracula, Frankenstein, what is it called?
Yeah,
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
The Curse of the Nosferatu.
I think
Yes, yeah.
that's
going back to Clark Ashton Smith as well. Don't forget him. He's pretty decent. Like the Universal features as well. I know Dracula is a Universal creature. It's done by Bram Stoker, but like the Wolfman and stuff like that. They said Frankenstein. I can't remember who did the Wolfman, but going back to, we're talking about Victorian age as well. Yeah, I think Bram Stoker was 1890 odd. I think it might be earlier than that. I've got to remember. No, I think that'd be got Bram Stoker. You got Mary Shelley, obviously, with Frankenstein. The Wolfman, obviously. Like you said, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I mean, that's been around for. I'm trying to think. When that first came out, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Bram Stoker was Dracula was 1897.
Yeah, I thought it was that.
Let's see. I'm looking up Frankenstein.
He's cheating. He's using the magic box.
Well, we've got 4 people here, which means I can do that.
Yeah.
Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus is an 1818 novel, so that actually predates Dracula significantly. And then Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Let me get this real quick. And by the way, AethelWulf, I'm drinking some Jeffersons to your birthday. It's a nice, slow, small batch bourbon. It's quite delightful, and I'll probably be half tanked by the time the show is done.
Save some for me. One of us has to stay completely sober for the live stream. But and then Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was 1886, and then The Invisible Man was another one. I'm trying to look that one up.
Yeah.
That one was a book by H.G. Wells. It's not really a horror book. If it is, it's like maybe I just wasn't scared when I read it.
What was that one about the mummy?
What's that from?
H.G. Wells' The Invisible Man was 1897.
So I'd say The Time Machine was as well. In some ways, it's horror. The Morlocks and all that.
I mean, who doesn't like stories?
Yeah, The Time Machine's another good one. That's 1895 by H.G. Wells. H.G. Wells is a very underappreciated author in the modern day. Part of it's because his books do not make good movies.
No, The Time Machine's a good movie. The 60s one, anyway.
Well, yeah, but there's also... They don't get the time machine right, like, ever. Part of it's...
I don't know, but...
let's see.
Still more faithful than that bollocks new one.
Well, yeah, that bollocks new one was just trash. And the Eloi are not supposed to look like people. That's where they messed up.
No.
They're both people. But the Morlocks, it was actually a commentation on class divide at the time, how the upper class were getting softer and softer, and basically we're going to evolve into these like little fairy creatures that were pretty much useless. And then the lower class were in these really increasingly crappy work conditions, so they were getting bigger, burlier, more aggressive. But like the Island of Dr. Moreau, that's never been done well.
Yeah.
I love that book, and it's never been done well.
No, the film with Marlon Brando is just...
that one is special.
It's definitely a film. We can confirm it's definitely a film.
Okay, hold on. I got to stop and I got to interrupt because I just got excited. Since the beginning of the stream, a couple people bought the book that we just put out. Just want to say thanks, guys.
Fantastic.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean,
really appreciate the
I just
support.
happened to look, and I'm like, oh, wow, we sold 2 more. Great. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. It goes a long way in helping us where it is that we're going, because the next leg that we're doing is going to take some upfront money. Like with the book that we're talking about. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit to get it going, but it is so going to be worth it, I think. Because what me and AethelWulf's planning is making it artwork heavy, and in a way where we want what we want to do, and hopefully we can, is in a way where the pictures can be removed from the book and of a quality that's worth putting into a what are those things called? Picture frame. Into picture frames. Because really most of your art replications that you're going to get, that's basically what they are. With the paint information of the painting on background, you know, the artist, the time, the exact genre, the name of the painting, etc. And then spattering in some of the writings of the big boys of that genre. And that's kind of what we're planning on doing for it. We're going to take a couple more days off before we really dive into that, but well, because it's AethelWulf's birthday and is the Ancestors' Day tomorrow, so I ain't working.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just planning on fucking off the next couple days.
I will be working though, because I mean I was able to get off my job this weekend, but I will be writing something for the blog, which will also be a little surprise for you, AethelWulf. I think you'll enjoy it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
But we will be doing, well, I'm planning on making like pumpkin bread or something for the ancestors. I've got trick-or-treat candy for when the kids and the spirits of the dead and come trick-or-treating.
I was also going to bitch too, because the last magazines everybody is trying to help us out with, we got not a... Yeah, I was going to bitch too, because the last magazines that we did, we haven't gotten a penny from those yet. So I appreciate everybody buying those, but this one here, we are definitely getting the pennies for them. So it does make a big, big difference. The Europe and Diaspora, we haven't gotten anything from those yet, and that, to be honest, I'm mad as fuck. But yeah, so we can do things.
Unfortunately, they're a rifle.
You know, I wanted to put it off, but there's things going on.
So we're gonna leave it there. Just
yes, take the mic away from me.
Yeah, just because it's not something we really want to talk about, but. Suffice to say, we switched to self-publishing for a reason. Mm-hmm. If this one does well enough, then we can next time hopefully do a run, which will allow us to drive the price back down from its current price. But thank you to everyone that has purchased them so far. It's a huge help, actually.
And it goes a long way in getting the next project.
Yeah, the more we sell of this, the more we're encouraged to do more. And I am still working on the God of the Day book, but I think most of us share in this fault, which is we are perfectionists. So I don't want to put it out until I have it in a way where I'm happy with it, and I don't want to misrepresent or not properly portray a god if I can more properly introduce them. Because
we're such perfectionists. I've spent, a week working on a letter?
Yeah, because we are, my job is going to be requiring the vaccine, and I am refusing to get it. But we are working on a way to get the religious exemption, and we will let you know how that goes. But back into sort of the horror of things, is they're talking about Lovecraft sort of in the chat right now. And Lovecraft is interesting because everyone likes cosmic horror. And yet the left is trying to attack Lovecraft. And the conservatives, bless their naive little hearts, they're trying to argue he wasn't a racist. The dude was a racist. I just don't care.
No, what annoys me, and this is echoed by quite a few people, I don't know if you know the YouTuber Razorfist, massive into Lovecraft. We were speaking about it on this Discord a while ago. They do it Robbie Howard too, and do it with all these other authors, where they say, oh, he's a horrible racist, he's this, he's that, he's a piece of shit, or what fucking ever, and all that crap. Yet they always try to taint his work. They always like to piggyback off his work.
Well, this is...
with Robbie. Anyway, with Lovecraft, what's it? It's called The Sinking City. An otherwise okay game, like I said, it's Lovecraft. It's based on Lovecraft, Sinking City. And it's like, it's 1930s Massachusetts, and I don't really want to say this, but I'm afraid I'm gonna have to. Half the population is black. Let's face it, it's black in Massachusetts. I think to myself, well, we want a bit more realistic portrayal. I was like, well, you wouldn't have that. Not in the 1930s, don't get me wrong. Don't get me. I mean, I'm not racist. I'm a prejudiced non-discriminator. I hate everyone.
This is.
Just,
I will.
You say I'm not a racist, but I'm a realist.
Well, this is basically how I put it. Is I am a pro my own group tribalist. I don't care that some of my ancestors were less than polite about any other race. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. Okay? When someone says, but Thomas Jefferson was a racist, I don't care. You don't care. Your people think of us as weird, hairy, pink monsters that you hide away. You find videos of blacks that have never seen white people. They literally run and hide. They're freaking terrified of us. Don't tell me that race is a social construct. That's nonsense. We all know it. But this is a YouTube one, so we're going to keep it closer to that rather than going into the uncensored. But that's what I want to talk more about Lovecraft's work and his influence without getting into the political side of stuff because this is YouTube.
I mean, I've got the best weird tales of Lovecraft here, the Necronomicon. Highly recommend it. This is the commemorative edition because I am a hardcover supremacist. So,
oh yeah, that's the other thing too. Is the books that you put out, I want them all to be hardcover because I too am a hardcover supremacist.
What I hate about most modern day things like this is when it was at the time, they hated Lovecraft's work. They hated Robert E. Howard's work. All of that. Said it wasn't very good and all this. And now, it was like this fucking wanker on the back of here, Stephen King. Apart from being a piece of shit anyway, overrated hack. Would say Lovecraft was crap and all this. Now all of a sudden he's saying, it's like, oh, he opened the way for me as he did for others before me. I was like, well, going back to when you were younger, you fucking twat. You didn't say that, did you? And, Michael Moorcock does this about Robert E. Howard too. Michael Moorcock, he's one of my favourite authors. Elric is one of the most compelling, interesting characters ever written. But at the same time, he criticised H.P. Lovecraft.
Well, with
he's
Robbie
got Howard.
A weird anal freaking fascination because he's got a whole series of books where he has to put some kind of anal scene in it. I don't know what's wrong with the guy, but he's broken.
Michael Moorcock.
No, I was talking about Stephen King. Stephen King got a whole bunch of books where somebody's always having something done to their anus.
Well, he's also just this weird obsession with Maine, which I get it. On the East Coast, that's the closest you're going to get to scary unknown because most of it's woods right now. It's kind of the oddity of the original 13 colonies. In that, I think Maine was one of the original colonies. I might be wrong. I always confuse the East Coast ones. But I know Vermont wasn't. I know that one was added in. But Maine was, and it's the only one that's really kind of maintained its wilderness, which is why a lot of people try to move there, but it's expensive and full of yuppies now. So...
so they're ruining that as well.
Well, I mean, you know how you complain in England of all the city people moving out to the countryside and screwing it up?
Fucking Londoners.
That happens here too.
Yeah, it's like with Arizona where our good friend Sif is living. is quickly becoming California.
Oh
And is ruining
yeah,
it.
and the worst part is they're repeating the same crud. But again, we keep veering into politics, and I think that's because that's
Yeah.
that's like our that's like our safe
the-
zone when we're trying to search for subjects. But we got to get back into Lovecraft. This is like the third time we've ended up there.
Well,
Lovecraft
to
and
be
his
fair,
fucking
nothing can be
tentacles.
more horrific than living in California. So, there
Fair enough.
is that.
But one of the things with
But yeah.
Lovecraft and Howard actually that's interesting is they both claim to have gotten their stories from dreams.
They were actually very good friends. They corresponded a lot.
Yes, they worked together. They did a lot of research into ethnic ways and history and paganism.
What annoys me is they go on about how Howard is racist. If you read Solomon Kane, he's in Africa a lot, and the Africans are tribal and that. But Nalonga is one of his closest allies and probably his only friend. And he's an African shaman. Or shaman, whatever you want to bloody call him. I think to myself, well, go on about how he's racist and that. I didn't see any of these modern day fucking authors have an African shaman who's shown in a good light.
Well, and here's the thing is, this is the thing that everyone gets the mistake of. They're not using racist for any positive reason. They're not using it as even criticism. It is just supposed to get you to shut up, which is why.
No, yeah, it's a way of winning an argument.
Dreadwolf, but we keep doing this. We got to stop getting into the racial, in the politics. We got to stop.
Yeah.
Okay?
I know. Politics aside, Lovecraft's horror is rooted in mystery. That is an immutable fact. Really, he was the first one to, I suppose, really write about the unknown, but certainly not write about it, but certainly explore it at more depth than, say, Edgar Allan Poe. In a way, don't get me wrong, Edgar Allan Poe is a phenomenal author in that, but it was more sort of personal demons, shall we say? Insanity in Lovecraft was a fear of the unknown.
And
famous.
They both wrote about the old gods, and they wrote about them in dark ways. Well, for the most part, but Howard less so. He was more neutral, I guess. And Lovecraft went dark because with Howard, with the like Crom, for instance, Crom doesn't care. He gives you everything that you need at birth, and then what you do with it afterward is on you. So don't ask him for any more because he already gave you everything that you will need through the entirety of your life. It's up to you to use it. So therefore, he's kind of neutral, relatively uncaring. With Lovecraft, though, he went dark. And I think it's because, and you can kind of see it in their writings through their variety of stories, because they both wrote more than just the Lovecraftian horror for Lovecraft and wrote more than Conan for Robert E. Howard. And you can kind of see that transition with Howard away from the Christian mindset, that Christian thought way of thinking. And with Lovecraft, he held into that, which is why I think he went with the dark cosmic horror, is because they was writing basically about the same thing, but it was two different ways of looking at it. One is fearful, and the other one is, it's more about the people, and the gods themselves don't really care.
Yeah,
with obviously,
of his...
sorry, mate, go ahead. They were. I've actually read the letters between the two. They were very close friends, Howard and Lovecraft. And Howard actually has some pretty good stories as well, horror stories as well. Pigeons from Hell being a pretty good one. His Western horrors are actually phenomenal. I do recommend reading them. But at the same time, they were, what's the best way to describe it? Criticized heavily at the time for their writing style.
Oh, yeah, they were not popular during their lifetime. That's part of what led Howard to his suicide at, I forget how old he was, in his 30s.
He was 30 years old.
Okay, 30 years old.
Which is a crying shame, because one of the most talented writers of his generation. He actually had a fear of aging, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm. Well, Which is
Which
fair
is,
enough because most of our people shouldn't die of old age. At least most of our men shouldn't die of old age.
No, if you go back to living how we were meant to live in a natural environment, we'll probably be dead by about 4 weeks, after if you're lucky. Like I say, Howard, his horror stories I think what irritates me with people regarding Howard is they focus only on Conan and Solomon Kane. They don't go on about Dark Agnes or Brakmak Morn, and I've actually just
Dark Agnes was good. I didn't really like. Crap. It's the Atlantean stories. I forget the King. Call the Conqueror. That's it. I wasn't really a fan of those ones. Whoops. And I think a lot of that is because that's actually where he was getting his chops for his storytelling. It's almost like he was trying too hard.
Yeah, well, that was his first attempt at making a character was Cole. It actually got rejected. He did actually perfect it. There is one Cole story I highly recommend. It's called The Shadow Kingdom. Because the first Conan films, the first Conan story, I can't remember what it's called now. It's the Phoenix Sword or something like that. Was actually a rewritten Cole story.
Yeah, I think that's the one. I think it's the Phoenix Sword.
Yeah. Very good story. I highly recommend Cole. He actually collaborated with.
Well, and he did some science fiction stuff too, which a lot of people don't realize. Robert E. Howard was amazing because I've been playing around writing short stories because I like stories so much. I draw a lot of my influence actually from Robert E. Howard because I like his storytelling because it's actually really traditional in the way that he told stories. Even if he didn't have good stories, he still told them in a traditional way.
He was a wordsmith of extraordinary ability.
To be honest, I like him better than Poe.
Yeah, I think about it. I like Edgar Allan Poe, but I certainly prefer Howard over the two. Not taking anything away from Edgar Allan Poe, just I feel more.
Well, they're all excellent writers in their own way.
Yeah.
And they inspired some phenomenal art because the Birthday Boy is an artist. Frank Frazetta, he did most of the artwork for Conan and the other quote-unquote supporting stories, which is basically just the other stories that Robert wrote that was in that same genre. Frank Frazetta did some amazing artwork for him. And I think part of what makes them so good is because they aren't in... It's weird, and I don't even know how to describe it. They're not detailed, but they're extremely detailed paintings. Any comments, AethelWulf? Mr. Neil?
Yeah, sorry about that. I forget I placed myself on mute.
Yeah, I saw you on mute. That's why I said something. I'm like, he's probably just talking away.
Oh, yeah, no, well, I was also just reading here as well. Sorry, could you just repeat that again?
Oh, I was talking about how...
I'm on the right page.
I was talking about how these guys, these authors, because we've been talking about stories for a little while, they inspired some really great artists, like with Robert E. Howard, Frank Frazetta.
Yeah.
And part of what is so striking about his artwork is it is both incredibly detailed and not at the exact same time. I don't even know how to describe it. But it's almost like viewing the world out of focus.
Yes, I guess they're portraying their own imagination through simplicity, because obviously you would apply so much detail, but without getting lost within the actual painting, but in just, I'd say just enough to captivate the audience. It's just one of those things in which they work out the contrast between detail and the, I'd say, the surface of the painting.
Yeah, and unfortunately, artwork is a hard thing to talk about because it's a visual, not platform. What's the other word? Medium. It's a visual medium, so it's hard to use words to actually describe good paintings. At least I struggle with it. I mean, you and me, we can talk about it, but we're talking about I guess, the intricacies of it, and you have to know a bit about art and art history and whatnot to have the kind of conversations that we have. Which, to be
Yeah,
honest, most people
yeah.
don't do. They like like paintings, but they don't know how to talk about it because they're unfamiliar with the histories and the artists and the genres and the techniques that go into it.
Yeah. I mean, to understand the painting is to observe the painting because no words can adequately describe it in detail.
But the way I view it is, it's like music. You don't have to know how to make it, and you don't have to know all the history about music to enjoy music. So there's no shame actually in not being able to follow an artist's dialogue on the intricacies of a painting.
Yeah.
One thing that blows my mind though is some of the best ones were done with chisels and spackles, I think they're called. But the metal bits rather than brushes, because
Yeah.
most people think of art, they think of the paint brushes and maybe a stick, but most of the best ones were done with, like, not palette brushes. What are they called? Those metal things.
They're like scalpels,
Yes,
very similar to that.
that's what I was going to say. Is scalpels are sharp and cut.
Yeah.
Trowels.
Oh,
That too. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them are actually done with trowels because a painting, if you see a real painting, not just a copy of a painting, there's a third dimension to them. They're not just two-dimensional images. They're actually three-dimensional images because they literally pile the paint up. It's amazing if you get a chance to see a really good painting, getting close to it. And it has to be a real painting, and then you can see that there's actual depth. That's why it looks different from different angles. Is because real shadows make a difference.
Yeah, and additionally, it's easier to reshape with a blunt object.
Mm-hmm. I'm doing my best here to drag it back to art. Pick it up and run with the ball, please. But yeah.
All right.
Well, you and me,
Sorry.
we both really like art, which is why we want to do this this dark romanticism. I believe I used the right word this time. The dark romanticism book.
Yeah.
And I really like stories, and I like paintings. You know a lot about paintings, and you also like stories. So it's a good thing, I think, for us to bring out. And everybody seems really enamored with it, I guess.
Yeah.
Like you put one of these paintings up, people can't help but stare. It's like, what am I
It's
looking
the
at?
attraction. Yeah.
We're attracted to the abyss.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll definitely say that the painting itself plays a fundamental role in shaping our identity, if you think about it, because we are easily attracted to that as it's part of I'll say it's an integral part of our culture, which in a way defines our identity. This is why we're so easily drawn to the unconventional, if you would say. I think they call it nocturne paintings, wherein they would paint the scene of a forest at night, I'd say hidden within the mist. But of course you have the moon piercing through the clouds, etc., as well as urban settings, which are great because some of the artists would paint, say, an urban setting after it just rained. All right, and therefore you have the water puddles reflecting the light, which I would say amplifies the luminism aspect of the painting.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, the painting itself would definitely shape the way we would perceive the world around us, because it's something different. It's something which is not, I'd say, too realistic. It's, yeah, I wouldn't say it's sort of, sorry, the words elude me right now.
Well, let me try and rescue you a little bit. I'm going to end up shifting topic. Just a little bit. Been drinking, and now I can't pay attention to where the boom arm is, so I'm banging the mic. But anyways, I did actually get enamored by landscapes for a little bit, which is a lot of what you're working on currently.
Yeah.
Some of the landscape art that was done is so well done, it looks like photographs. It's crazy how much detail that, and this isn't like the 17 and 1800s. They was able to get so much detail into the paintings that they look like full color photographs. It's just amazing stuff, and
Which, yeah,
oddly, it
which
looks
I would say,
better than a photograph.
yeah, which I would say it did serve a purpose back then, but now because of photography, realism has fallen to the wayside because some people are unable to distinguish a realistic painting from a photograph, and then they think, well, that has been doctored or something.
Right, yeah. Well, and in
Which
many
is
ways,
why-
especially if you see the real actual paintings, in some ways they are, it's the oddest thing. It is more realistic than a photograph, which is
Yeah.
counterintuitive, but it is because you can actually sense the distance, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but they are more powerful actually than a photograph. And it's not that photographs don't have a place in art, but yeah, it's different. It's the same thing, but it's different. But I understand why people kind of stray away from that now. And yeah. And then the thing that just flooded into my mind is one of the worst things to happen to art is not just the modern art thing with the paint splatters and bullshit, which is not art. I don't care. But the Tumblr style art, it's horrible. When you start seeing that on canvas, it's bad enough on screen, but when you start seeing that on canvas, shit has gone sideways.
Yeah.
Did your mama teach you if you didn't have something nice to say, don't say nothing at all? I noticed you got really quiet right there. It's like, yeah, I got nothing good to say.
Yeah, I think we've covered most of the aspects of dark romanticism, but yeah, I would like to say that postmodernism, or should I say modernism/postmodernism, did derail art to the point at which people are exploiting the very basics of, the very characteristics of postmodernism to express whatever they feel like, and then place it under the tag art.
Yeah.
As if it is part of art, which is not, because to me, when I observe modernism, postmodernism, it means nothing. It has no meaning, it has no form, it has no nothing. All right, it's completely, as I would say, utilitarian in a way. It serves no purpose. It has no identity to it because let's say modernists or postmodernists are catering to those who seemingly lack talent, to put it bluntly.
Yeah, it's like, holy crap. And I even spotted this back when I was a kid because they was showing off, I forget what the little blonde gay guy's name was. Look at his fantastic art, and it was literally a white canvas, and he's like taking a brush and just flipping paint at it.
Are you referring to Andy Warhol?
Yes, that motherfucker. Yeah. The Campbell Soup guy. I think that's the same guy. Look at how wonderful his art is. He painted a Campbell soup can. Look at how wonderful his art is. He painted the same picture 4 times as badly as possible. That Fash Wave look. I absolutely hate Fash Wave. I don't even know how that's considered an art or an art form. It's just bad.
Yeah, I'll say he was mostly connected to the Prestige, which is a type of art movement that basically copies a painting but adds or applies its own flavor to it, which is just as silly, to be honest.
Right. Well, it's like somebody redoing a classic movie and saying, "But I'm going to put a new spin on it because this is mine."
Yeah.
Or when they make a movie based off of a comic book. Oh no, I never read the comic book, but I'm going to make a movie based off from it. What? That blows my mind because there's a whole bunch of them coming out here where people's complaining about the casting. Let's leave it at that. And then you see interviews with the director and the writer, and they are completely unfamiliar with the original content. Like one of them that's coming out, it's an anime. It's Cowboy Bebop. It's one of the most popular animes ever, and they're doing live action. People's complaining about it. And then I watched interviews with the writer, the actors, and the director. None of them could bother sitting down to watch the original Bebop. Yeah. What? It'd be like making a Batman movie and never having watched even so much as a cartoon of Batman. Like, who's Batman? Okay, yeah, sure, I'll do a movie of him. I'm familiar
Understanding
with
the lore of
Robin Hood.
Batman. Yeah. Or conflating conflating two fables
Mm-hmm.
and applying it as one legend. It just makes no sense. Well, it actually muddies the water
Yeah,
of both stories.
it's just horrible.
Yeah,
And
I think
stories are so important. Somebody was talking, what?
I was going to say
That's
that. Sorry to cut off. One of the biggest problems we have is these people remaking these things have no respect for the source material.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem, and we know why. Well, no, I'm not going to get into it, but I think one of the biggest surprises I have is Peter Jackson's King Kong movie. It's okay, but I was surprised that it wasn't that great because Peter Jackson actually likes King Kong. There's actually seen the old films and that.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And
some people might think that we're talking about separate topics in the same conversation, and this is not true. It's all storytelling. Yeah, painting or art, whether it's from photograph or painting or drawing or sketching or chalk or charcoal, it doesn't matter. Is actually it's a type of storytelling. You're telling a story just in a single picture. The literary tradition, that is obviously telling the story. Movies, that is combining the imagery of art with the literary or the spoken of stories. So basically what we're talking about is storytelling, and it's important to our people. The ability to tell a story, the ability to understand a story, the ability to present a story coherently. And this is coming from somebody who's already half in the bag. And I can still focus on this. What we're talking about is storytelling, and it's very, very important to our people, whether it's folklore or art or music, because music is just another form of storytelling. It's storytelling to a rhythm.
I'll definitely say it panders to our imagination. It enables us. Sorry.
I say that's in a lot of forms of media too. Obviously, video games, films. You can tell a story even through pictures as well. What's the saying? A picture is worth 1,000 words, whether it is, or whatever. I think that's the saying, isn't it? But not only that, but one of my favourite things to do, it's going to sound a bit silly, but whenever I go past a church or something, I like to have a look at the gargoyles as well. One of my favourite things to do. And, architecture too has its place in storytelling. I'm trying to think what it is now. But the old, what they call Gothic horror, isn't it? The old big castles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bloodborne is good for this as well, in case you know it's a video game. Japanese developers as well. Shouldn't discount Japanese in their horror too. But it's got a Victorian sort of Gothic vibe to it. And, the environment itself can tell a story as well. If anything more so. I'd say one of my favourite games ever is Thief Deadly Shadows. Okay. There's this famous, infamous level on there that is peak horror for me, because it is done purely through small little tidbits throughout the world and that you get into it. So you get warned about this place at the start of the game. It's called Shelbridge Cradle. To me, that's perfect storytelling because it drip feeds you. It keeps you enticed to the point where it builds up dread, mystery, and when you actually get told you got to go there, you're like, oh, bugger, this place is like throughout the whole game we've been told to avoid this place, and it's bad, it's evil, and terrible things happened here. To me, that form of storytelling has been lost in modern day horror. I guess we were speaking before the stream, I went and saw the new Halloween film. Now, anyone don't know, Halloween, the original 1978 one, is one of my all-time favourite horror films. John Carpenter is one of my all-time favourite horror directors. This new one, it has its moments, But ultimately, it's based purely on violence. Now, don't get me wrong, violence can help make a movie. If you look at the 1982 version of The Thing with John Carpenter, the violence helps. You know, where like the aliens like ripping people apart and it's coming out in all kinds of weird shapes and all that. But then there is basically having nothing in the film. You have no story to tell, and you just fill it with blood and guts. That's not called storytelling. That's called being a lazy fucker. Let's just put that out there. And I blame Insidious and all those other kind of films for this, where it's quiet, quiet, quiet. Then all of a sudden it goes out of nowhere. You know, so it literally just bores you to tears and has a jump scare. That's not horror to me. That's just horror to me is a medium that gets you thinking afterwards. So
Yeah, it's a scripted
Yeah.
routine.
yes, I'm going to bring his name up again, but yeah, I have to. Prince of Darkness by John Carpenter. It's cosmic horror, very underappreciated film. I highly recommend you track it down. But basically, it's a scientific explanation. But the reason I find it so compelling is that this thing could actually exist. That's the thing. The actual entity behind it could actually be out there. Same with the Thing. That's why I find cosmic horror with like aliens.
Well,
or
that's
stuff like
actually
this
one of my
to be-
favorite games. I used to play this with younger teens, I guess. Is what if and how could a pick monster be real and exist under scientific rules as we understand nature to be currently? And then you can even twist it just a little bit, kind of push the boundaries, but just don't go too far. And it's a fun game to play. Like, if shape-shifting, if the idea of what we think of as a werewolf existed, what would its biology actually be? How could this actually exist under how we understand things to be? And then it actually kind of sparks their imagination a lot of times, because they're, well, even with older people, full-on adults that I've played this game with, usually I have to get it started, so I have to prime the pump. But once I get them going, yeah, there's been some really interesting things, like, okay, the shape-shifting vampire. How could this thing be biologically real? Easiest thing to do first, because they shape-shift, remove the bones. Okay, but then they would just collapse, right? Well, not if you give them enough muscle density. If you give them enough muscle density, then all you need is certain joints, which doesn't actually have to be bone. Could be cartilage. For example, look at the shark. So now you have a boneless creature, which explains why it needs to eat blood, is because it can't manufacture its own, at least as we understand land-bound mammals. The muscle density, just for it to stand upright as a man, would make it nearly bulletproof, nearly stab-proof. So that would explain, like, the stories of the spike, the spike in the hammer to penetrate into its heart to kill it, because you can't just stab it, because nothing is sharp enough to actually just penetrate that dense of muscle, and so on and so forth. And yeah, come up with some really interesting things. Imagination is so important to our people, which is part of the storytelling. It opens up the possibilities, the what if. It allows us to grow. It allows us to remember. It can inspire us. It can put in fear, which is also can be inspiring. It's exciting too. Which then opens up our imagination so that we can move forward from where we are. Storytelling is so damn important to our people, and it doesn't have to be stories like written stories or spoken stories. It can be stories like paintings. The painting to open up the imagination, the what if, the possibilities of everything.
It goes back to the H.P. Lovecraft quote, isn't it? Fear is the oldest emotion of mankind, and the strongest type of fear is fear of the unknown.
Right, and I want to argue with Lovecraft on this. He's wrong. The oldest emotion of mankind is wonder.
Yes. I will
Go
back
ahead.
that.
I'll let you go on about that because I know this is one of your favorites.
Well, I brought it up because I was talking to CG and I was like, everyone always repeats that. I mean, it sounds poignant, but we don't know what the original emotion of our species specifically was. And honestly, well, a lot of people say it was fear. I'm going to go ahead and say wonder. Because what is it babies always look out at the world with? Eyes full of wonder. It's not that fear doesn't exist, it's that it's not necessarily your first go-to, your first emotion.
Yeah, I get your point. I mean, I can't remember my first memories as a baby, but
Well, no one can. Well, except the...
no, but,
Observe babies.
Yeah, and what are they? They're always... Everything is wondrous. I mean, it could be something incredibly dangerous, and instead of... At least for white babies, instead of being scared, they're like, hello. You know, there's even like that goofy thing where in like some kids' movies, the baby will be left out in the woods and something very dangerous or...
The werewolf. It crawls up to the werewolf. Mommy!
Crawls up to the werewolf. It crawls up to the wolf pack. It crawls up to the bear or the gorilla, and the baby just charms the pants off the monster, and it immediately is like, I will take care of it and protect it with my life.
there's quite a few stories like that. I think one of the most famous ones, it eludes me, is is it Dances with Wolves, isn't it? I know it's not quite the same, but you think instead of baby brought up by, I think it's about me. It's been so long since I watched it. There's that kind of story, isn't it, where baby abandoned, it gets brought up and.
I think you're thinking of the Jungle Book, because Dances with Wolves is about a U.S. soldier that teams up with like the Sioux Indian Nation.
I can't. It's been so long since I.
Deal with that.
Jungle Book,
Yeah,
Tarzan. Well, it's even really old in mythology, like Romulus and Remus, or the she-bear that did at Atlanta.
I should recommend the Tarzan books. Actually, they're pretty decent.
I have not read them, so I.
They're a bitch to track down, but.
Well, that's
I've
like
only read
everything. I've been trying to find like Robin Hood folklore for a while, and all I keep finding is either more recent literary stuff or like books talking about folklore when I'm looking for like the raw info.
Robin Hood's one of those ones where you have to be careful because anything modern do, Robin Hood is shit.
There is, for Robin Hood, there's actually a Robin Hood encyclopedia. That might be where you guys are messing up. Because I used to own a copy of it. It's like 20 some odd books. And all it is Robin Hood folklore. No opinions given on it, no nothing.
Yeah, and it's hard to track those down, and they're usually out of print.
Because the series I had was out of print.
Like Robin Hood, for instance, like the whole him with Herd and the Hunter in like the 1980s Robin Hood TV show, that's actually in the folklore. It's just hard to find anything on it. And it's one of those things, man. It's some things are just sort of taken for granted.
We've kind of left AethelWulf out of it.
Yeah, I mean,
how about his painting of the werewolf that
we used? Yeah, like let's talk about AethelWulf for a bit. AethelWulf, do you want to talk about your art or anything?
Well, I was going to say, I assume we are done with the folks tales.
Sure. Your birthday, your choice.
Yeah. No, sorry. I was just wondering. I didn't want to interrupt or anything, or sort of conclude
it's
the
your birthday,
topic.
by all means, man, interrupt.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say, well, considering it is Halloween or Samhain, depending on your traditional leanings, I was just wondering, what is Halloween to you guys? As a, let's say, from a traditional standpoint.
Well, when I was a kid, it was the day I got to dress up in a costume, not be the weird kid for liking macabre stuff, and got to go get candy. as an adult and understanding where the tradition comes from, it's the Day of the Ancestors, and I'm still doing pretty much the same traditions, but I'm doing it with the understanding of their sort of sacral and traditional origins.
Okay, cool. Great.
I don't know, really. I was almost in the same vein as Tao, I suppose, really. Where,
Yeah.
I quite like dressing up. I quite like spooky stories anyway. I was always obsessed with it when I was growing up, with strange tales and stuff like that. I suppose really it's the only time of year where I could actually dress up like it and not be regarded as a strange person.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've always been interested in that, not just like dressing for Halloween costumes, but music as well, horror based music as well, stuff like that. Like I said, it's the time of year to celebrate the macabre when I was growing up. I still do it. And at the same time, winter's close approaching, so it's just all like making the most of it because it's going to be really dark and really cold for the next few months. So celebrate it while it still has some sunlight left. Really.
Well, and for me, it's because my family held some of the older traditions. I'll just roll with that, older traditions. And it's like the article, the essay, the story that I did in the publication that we just put out, the trial. It's about the beginning part of the Great Hunt. So spirits are traipsing across the land. They're traversing across the veil. You got the spirits, both land and ancestors, basically going through the land. And it's about facing fear. And in the end, I guess, yeah, it's about facing fear and community, because we always had like the big bonfire and parties and celebrations. We didn't do the trick-or-treating so much until I got a little bit older. But yeah, we would all wear costumes. Typically, we wore costumes depicting the monsters of our stories or the heroes of our stories. So yeah, there's the dress-up component. There's the story component. There's the community, the apple bobbing and the feasting and the fire and the big party and the trials of facing fear. In today's world, that would be like the haunted house. A lot of people are familiar with the haunted house. Going to the haunted house and not only facing the fear, but trying to face the fear and not jump. Like, there is nothing here to actually be afraid of, but you can't help yourself. You can't help you can't help jumping, I guess, because of the what if. What if this time it really is? What if? So then there is still, even though it's just a haunted house or a haunted trail or a haunted corn maze or whatever it is, there's still that notion of that unknown element, and it's facing that unknown fear. That's what this time of the season is for me, and always has been. The dressing up is the fun part of it, but it's actually not really a requirement either. But the community aspect of it, that's what it is to me, and the facing of the unknown.
Right.
I didn't mean to get
Halloween...
too deep on it, but you asked, so I answered.
Well, Halloween to me is the one time when we can break the confines of social convention by partaking in something that is not only ancient, but also ultimately defies the mundane aspects of reality itself. Mm-hmm. It therefore reminds us to have fun within a sterile world, if you really think about it. The idea of dressing up in ghoulish costumes really speaks to our experiences as a people, because of how deeply connected we are to the spiritual side of our ancient cultures, which were forbidden by those who deemed them unholy. It's our nature. It's part of who we are. Halloween is an important holiday to me because I was born about an hour before the 31st. Therefore, I consider myself a premature Halloween baby.
Well, this might make you laugh. I kind of weirded out a couple nice Christian ladies. They're very proper. today, because we all got talking about Halloween and what are you doing for Halloween? Is getting excited, and then all of a sudden I started bouncing up and down, like I'm a little kid, and I'm like, yeah, I get really excited this time of year because this is the time of year when everybody celebrates one of my holidays, because we're heathen, and they're like, what? Oh crap, I didn't think about that. It's like, no, it's good. You do that, dress up, have fun. That's what it's about. And I didn't make them not like Halloween, but you could tell that they're uncomfortable because of their Christian principles, and it became plainly obvious because they're kind of, let's say, leery around me for some reason. Apparently, I look dubious, but yeah, they was actually kind of taken back by like, oh crap, this actually is a pagan holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. In addition, the other reason is because, in addition to the date of my birth, the other reason is because at the time of my birth, I was more or less given pagan names, unbeknownst to my parents. My first name means champion in ancient Gaelic, as far as I'm aware. Though it is a variant of the original name, I think 4 or 5. Not quite sure. My second name is of the ash tree, which, as many of you may know, is significantly symbolic in Scandinavian culture, as the world tree, Yggdrasil, is supposedly an ash tree. My third name is a family name which dates back to the late 1800s. Therefore, the name itself has been passed down by at least 6 generations of my family. Furthermore, the surname means round branch in Swedish.
Nice.
Yeah, so now I'm sure people are wondering what the connection here is. Well, due to the time and date of my birth, as well as the pagan names given to me, I feel this is more than a mere coincidence. I do believe there is something special here.
You are the champion of the round ash branch.
Yeah. No need for glorification. It puts me in an awkward spot. I'm more of the bashful type.
But yeah, it's actually a great time of year, and it's a good time of year to kind of let loose. I mean, I don't really know another way to describe it. Is it just relax, have fun, laugh at your fears. Be Celtic about it, because they was known to, while their ships are being swamped by waves, to laugh madly at the waves. Because really, what else could they do? They could cower and scream in fear, or they could laugh like a madman and have fun, right up until they get swamped or they survive it.
Yeah.
Because anybody that's been out on the high seas, once that starts happening, there's fuck all that you can do about it. All you can do is ride the shit out, and you might as well have fun while you're facing it. You got 2 choices. You can sit down and you can cry, or you can stand up and you can laugh. I myself choose to stand up and laugh.
Yeah, Halloween is about having fun because it's something completely different, something that is out of the norm. Therefore, we should not take it for granted. We should enjoy ourselves, have fun, and just, I'd say, consider this a special moment worthy of remembrance, because it is a momentous occasion. Therefore, we should just have fun, enjoy ourselves, do something out of the ordinary, something that is unconventional. It doesn't matter, because within our circle, we will not judge. We will have fun along with you.
And don't forget to carve those lanterns of the jack.
Yeah.
The jack-o'-lanterns. Or the lanterns of the spirit, sorry. Lanterns of the spirits. Yeah. That is what the jack-o'-lantern is. It is both a warning and an invitation.
Yeah. And thus we will have fun alongside you, right? I mean, it's just how things are. It's one of the most special occasions of the year, if you think about it, because it really speaks to us as a people.
Right.
Well, it's just one of those things in which we can really go out and just be who we are without people looking at us and saying, oh, well, because yesterday, it was yesterday evening, I went to the pub and all dressed up in my ghoul costume, which it doesn't really look like a ghoul costume, but that's what they say it is. It's more of a I'd say a ghostly apparition of some sort.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then but people were fascinated when they saw this because Halloween is not really celebrated here as we are a pious country, all right?
Very
As well as
pious.
the fact that many of the races here view it as another European holiday because they do not understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, they have their own holidays in relation to what we have now. But
Well,
over here, Halloween is
I've mentioned
sort of a
before.
unreal phenomenon. So,
I've mentioned before. I've worked with Africans like straight off from the boat, and yeah, they asked me about Halloween. What? Because they knew it was a thing, but they didn't know what it was. As soon as they found out that that I'm a heathen, they come to me asking me what Halloween's all about. And then the weirdest thing happens. They get really, really curious, but they also become really scared of it. They're like, you guys are nuts. But it is interesting that you are actually into this.
yeah,
And it's,
because it defines us as people.
yes.
It's just who we are. It's part of our nature.
Yeah, and they was just amazed that even non-heathens still celebrated it. That it's everywhere where our people are in one way, shape, or form. Even in the pious countries, they'll still do things. They just don't know that they're doing these things. So they might not put on the decorations. They might not do all these things, but they end up doing something, even if it's like graveyard walks, because I've looked into it. Even if it's like graveyard walks, or they go out to old battlefields or whatever, they end up doing something that is still wrapped around the heathen way of doing it.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Halloween is now besieged by the people whom we shall not name, because they view Halloween as an exclusively European holiday, which doesn't sort of emphasize inclusivity, which in a way it is, because Halloween is our holiday, right? It celebrates our traditions as a people, but it doesn't mean that other people are forbidden from partaking in Halloween. They're more than welcome to join in. It's just that it is our holiday, all right? It's something that our ancestors crafted millennia ago. But of course, not to say that they are forbidden from partaking. If they want to, that's fine. But the thing is, do not dismantle something that is special to us, something that is meaningful to us.
Right. Well, and the Lord Keeper today,
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, in the Lore Keeper today, he did a post, and he didn't even come close to covering them all, but he did a post today on Telegram covering what it's called and various countries of ours, because we understand it's not always called Samhain, it's not always called Halloween, but these same celebrations take place around the same general idea, might be celebrated a little bit different, but the overall is still pretty much the same time of year, same idea, basically the same celebrations across all of our lands, and in many cases it holds completely different names, and people might argue that it's not the same, but if you step back and actually look at what they're doing, they're so similar. You can see that they're all related to the same idea, which shows the Hyperborean. It is us. It is part of who we are. It will always be with us. They might try pushing it down, but it is going to come back up. Like last year, almost nobody celebrated Halloween. There were some people that tried. This year, there's more people. They're actively pushing it now, because they're like, we're not letting them take another one from us. And most of these people that's pushing it aren't even heathen. They're just Hyperborean. So,
absolutely. They're all our holidays. Therefore, they have no right to dismantle that which defines us. We've something about which we are passionate, because they do belong to us, which is something I've noticed of late. They have become, say, the fundamentalists of the early 80s. I think it was back then, during the Satanic Panic of some sort. Yeah, they've basically emulated those people. They have copied their strategy to completely derail our holidays. So it's just shifted. It's what I'd like to call the paradigm, which is pretty odd.
Well, and like some of the first things I saw in my lifetime for pushing down Halloween and getting people to stop celebrating it oh, don't take your children trick-or-treating because there's people putting LSD in the candy bars. They're putting razor blades in the candy bars. They're putting needles in the candy bars.
Yeah.
I have never known anybody that had that happen. It doesn't mean that it has never happened. So if you have actually physically encountered it yourself, you're the exception to the rule. I've never encountered anybody, even people from like New York City, LA, Miami, where the odds of these things are the highest, or Detroit, the odds of these things happening are the highest. I've never encountered anybody that's like, oh yeah, we took the candy to be x-rayed and we found 32 razor blades and 56 needles in the candy. Never once have I encountered anybody. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but yeah, even the non-us that do it, they understand the rules. They understand the rules.
Yeah, no, they will throw out such scurrilous accusations.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is they can't afford to be the ones doing that, because all of us would immediately turn on them if it got found out that they did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why we must do everything to protect Halloween, because we cannot afford to lose it.
Right. Even if we think it's silly, even if we don't want to dress up or don't want to carve the jack-o'-lanterns, or, but there's nobody's going to show up, or, but it's just me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. When we're done with the show here shortly, we're going to carve up the pumpkins that we got, even though odds are no trick-or-treaters are going to show up. Tomorrow, because we're doing a live stream tomorrow, because you want to do one tomorrow as well. We're going to do the live stream tomorrow, and then after that, me and the lore keeper, we're going to make sure that somebody is sitting outside with a costume to hand out candy just in case somebody shows up. If one kid shows up, oh, they're going to be so happy. They're going to hit the jackpot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Unfortunately, over here, we're not accustomed to trick-or-treating, because for obvious reasons it wouldn't be safe to do it here.
Right. Well, and the thing is that's where like the community celebrations come in, and it doesn't have to be candy, because like when I was growing up, we didn't actually do candy, because all of us kids, we thought that we liked it, but you give any of us a candy bar, we'd eat maybe a third of it and we're done, and then it'll sit there and kind of dry up because of the oxygen, because we never go back to it. But it was, apples and pies and cakes and food, actual food. So it doesn't have to be candy. It can be actual food. And it's the Lord Keeper's raising his hand, so I'll let him talk.
Well, apparently in some parts of Canada, they used to say Halloween apples instead of trick or treat. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it used to be like roasted nuts and homemade treats and stuff like that, and it slowly became more and more commercial. And this is the thing that annoys me so much when people talk about how commercial the holidays have been. Take away the commercial stuff, and you're set. It's like when someone asked me, how do you celebrate Yule? Take the Jesus Christ crap out. You don't even have to get rid of the angels on your tree, because those are just symbols of the ancestors. You just get rid of the Jesus crap, which is pretty much one single decoration for most families, which is a manger if they have it.
Well, and a lot of people too think that you have to buy like the top, or let's back up to the jack-o'-lanterns, because I know a lot of people don't feel comfortable carving jack-o'-lanterns, because a lot of us don't have the let's roll with artistic skill to carve a impressive jack-o'-lantern, because we always get inundated with it this time of year, where look at how amazing these jack-o'-lanterns are, and they're expertly sculpted, and they have that where when you put the candle in it, they don't actually cut through the pumpkin. They do it so that the light shines through, and they do really intricate scrap. You don't have to do that. Just stab a freaking eye in it and carve a mouth in it, and you're good. It doesn't have to be some high form of art, because it's a pumpkin. It's going to rot away anyways, and that's part of the point. The point is in trying. What's that?
It doesn't have to be menacing. It can be a variety of emotions. Well, I guess having a menacing pumpkin would adhere to the traditional elements of Halloween.
Right, but in the end, it's a lantern. So you could literally just carve a circle in it, put a candle in it, It is a lantern now. That is the point. You don't have a lot of people, because I've talked to families. Well, I don't do the jack-o'-lanterns because you see this and you see this, and they'll show me series of pictures of these really cool jack-o'-lanterns that's been done. They're like, I can't do that. I'm like, you don't have to. That's not the point. I mean, yes, they're really cool, but you don't have to do that. What is cooler than seeing 3 intricately carved pumpkins in a town is seeing thousands of badly carved pumpkins, for a lack of a better word. Amateur carved pumpkins. I'd rather see 10,000 amateur carved pumpkins than 3 expert carved pumpkins with none of the others. Because it'd be a lot more celebratory. It just would mean more to see that. So, yeah, even if you don't feel like it, because, well, I can't match up. You don't have to match up. Stop comparing yourselves to these people. It's okay that they do these things. They look at what I did, because it's part of our nature, but we should still participate. You don't have to go buy the world's best costume, or even buy a costume. If you have nothing else, take an old shirt, wrap it around your head, poke some holes in it so that you can see through it, and call it a costume. You're Jack the serial killer. What's scary about that? Well, serial killers look like everybody else, but this time you can see me coming. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
It would be far more convincing than a permission. That I can say that much.
Right. I mean, I'd rather see that than all these sexy nurses and sexy kitties. And I'm the barbarian dude, because I worked out for six months and starved myself for 3 of them to look like this, and now I'm only wearing a loincloth and showing off my bum. I don't care. Wrap a blanket around yourself and call it a cloak, and maybe slap on some face paint, or take some something and some dirt and rub it on your face and call yourself a spirit, and do it. Just do it. That's the important part. Just do it. It doesn't have to be anything amazing.
Yeah.
Like my family's traditional and the trial, part 1 and part 2. The way that they did the costumes, it was literally a cloak, which a good traditional cloak, it's just a blanket. It's just the way that you tie it on is what makes it a cloak. And then we would take, the adults would take like milk jugs, and they'd cut portion of it out, heat it up, form it roughly to a face, cut eyes out of it. And it was scary as shit to us kids, because it's dark out and we see this dark cloaked figure moving through the dark. And then when they turn to check on us, their face lights up in the starlight. But it's not a human face. It's the wrong shape. It's the wrong color. Everything about it screams not human. And it was absolutely terrifying. And it was a milk jug and a blanket.
Yeah. With, I guess, a few effects to it.
That was the effects. The effects was actually the environment. Yeah. It was literally just a cut-out milk jug strapped to their face with a blanket wrapped around them. And it was the most terrifying costume I'd seen in my life.
Yeah. That's quite interesting.
So it doesn't have to be anything dramatic or really intricate or over the top. It just has to exist. And we are the only ones that can make it exist. We meaning people. Us in the mortal realm, we are the only ones that can actually make it exist, and we need to make it exist. Mm-hmm. And since it's our holiday, why are we letting the Christians save our holiday? I mean, bless them. Yeah. Bless their little hearts. But really, it falls on our shoulders. We should be the ones pushing to resurrect this holiday. I really do appreciate the Christians out there pushing it, thinking that it's theirs, and they don't realize just how heathen it is. But damn it, we need to step up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, my rant's done. I feel better now.
Dreadwolf, do you have anything to say? You've been quite quiet in the corner there.
He's feeling ashamed because he went out and got a really nice costume.
No, I don't think I've ever bought a costume. Probably last time I was that? I was probably about 8 years old.
Mm-hmm. And here's an idea too. If you don't have kids that you can borrow to go trick or treating with, that's fine. Walk around in your yard after dark.
Last time I did that, I got arrested.
Well, it's in your yard. I'm not. Don't walk around in your neighbor's yard. Walk around in your own yard. Because I understand people are weird.
Oh, right. My own yard. Well, now you mentioned that.
Take all the fun out of it, but still.
Probably should drop the hatchet as well. No. No, with Halloween, not the commercialization of it, but what really irritates me is the fact that we still got. Oh, this is going back probably 3 weeks ago now, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and a pair of fucking assholes have got Christmas lights up. Only just started October.
Yeah.
And we're not talking like a few lights in the window and the plastic Santa that's looking depressed. We're talking like full, like Las Vegas lit up fucking poker gambling street bloody Christmas lights.
Well, if you're going to do that at Halloween, this is what you do: the Japanese Santa Claus, where he's crucified, and then you put up the Holly King pointing and laughing at Santa Claus. Why? Because that's just funny.
I think one of the biggest problems is I don't think Halloween's been commercialized, but certainly Yule, Christmas, whatever you want to call it.
So long as we allow them to, they will commercialize any of our holidays. So all we need to do is stop participating in the commercial aspect of it and start participating in the communal aspect of it. The community is what makes these holidays. Without that, the monetary means nothing. It wouldn't even exist. So we're putting the focus in the wrong spot.
I agree 100%. Community spirit isn't really something that exists in the modern day world. At least my interpretation.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with the import of city folk, especially in the country. The village of my gran, she's not there anymore, obviously. She's not very well at the minute, so she's unfortunately had to go into a home. But when she's grown up, everyone knew each other, everyone helped each other out. No backlog in this now. You go there now, no one even look at you twice if you needed help. So say, I need a lift in the work, or I need this or something like that. Can you give us a hand to give us this and that? That no longer exists in communities now. Everyone's very mistrusting of each other, which I can understand. I don't. Very few people in this world I trust. I must admit. But there's no sense of community now. Everyone's trying to one-up each other, or they're always trying to get dirt on you. That's just my experience. I mean, it might be different where you guys are, but around here...
Oh, no, it's the same way, but we fight it. It is the same way. People don't trust each other. And we're not the only ones fighting it, because we've encountered other people when we're out walking around, we're going here or there, where they're actively trying to build community. And you build community by talking to people. Like, don't be afraid to talk to a stranger. Worse, okay, I'm going to quote Sean Connery's James Bond. I can't do the voice, but 50 no's and 1 yes is still a yes. Go for the freaking yes. Offer your hand. You might get turned down 50 times. One person will shake your hand. That's the yes. Say hello to people. We have to build the community. And the thing is, if we're actually building a community, guess what kind of community it's going to be? It's going to be a heathen community because people want to be like us. And then Halloween comes back. Yule comes back.
Yeah.
The spring celebrations come back under the heathen flag, not underneath the Christian flag.
Yeah, the nose are the staircase towards success.
Yes. So it's up to us. We have to do this. We don't have to push heathenism. What we have to do is push ourselves as ourselves. And then when people say, well, you're such a good Christian person, laugh and be like, I'm not Christian, I'm heathen. And you don't even have to argue against Christianity. Just be like, I am such a good person that you thought I was the epitome of Christianity, and I am not Christian. So what does that say about Christianity? You don't even have to say anything. They then immediately understand they had everything twisted in their head. And it will insert doubt into their mind. And that's how we win people back. That's how we're going to build communities. That's how we're going to get our holidays back. We have to participate. We don't have to proselytize, but we have to participate.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly not going to get done on its own. That's for sure. Sitting on your ass doing anything,
Mm-hmm.
that's not going to do jack shit.
And I'll admit, I'm kind of leery. If somebody, if one of the neighbor people that lives upstairs, because they're white folk and is to come down here and be like, I baked some bread. Would you like some bread? My knee-jerk reaction is going to be like, what's wrong with that bread? However, I understand that's my knee-jerk reaction. So then what I have to do is, oh, you made this yourself. Thank you. Yeah, sure. I would love to try it. Oh, and if it's good, let them know it's good. If it's not good, just say thank you. Follow that mama's rule. If you can't say something good, say nothing at all. But if it's good, oh man, this is great. I thank you so much for bringing me some of your wonderful bread and go over the top. That's how we're going to bring this back. And we can actually use our holidays. People like Halloween. Participate.
Except for the Puritans.
Yeah, the Puritans, fuck them. Everybody knows who they are and nobody likes them.
Yeah.
Even the Puritans don't like the Puritans, so there is that.
Yeah, they're at constant odds with one another.
But we can do it. We can do it. All we have to do is not be scared to say something. We have to not be scared to shake hands. We have to not be scared to say hello. We have to not be scared to invite people. I've told some of the people that walk through over here by where we live at, yes, we're going to be handing out candy. I don't know if anybody's going to show up. I kind of hope that they do. I don't even know if these people have kids. But by me letting them know that, yes, we do have candy, we are going to hand them out. And I told them that we're going to be putting out the jack-o'-lanterns last minute, so don't worry because we don't have them out right now. They might bring some short ones, some little man cubs around trick-or-treating so that we can hand them out candy. What is that doing? That's building up community. Because these people, they're new in here, and they now have very little problem stopping and talking, and they walk by and they make sure that I see them if I'm outside, and they wave and they smile. Is it a tight-knit community? No, but like you were saying, Dreadwolf, people's scared, they're leery. You have to do what you can to set them at ease.
Yeah.
Even though it's uncomfortable, because I get weirded out by it. I'm like, this is uncomfortable to do this. But I do it anyways because somebody has to.
And I'm not saying, someone brand new to the area, they're completely unknown, and you trust them, they're complete strangers. Well, if you trust complete strangers, then you're a fucking idiot and you deserve everything to get thrown at you, if I'm honest. But
right. I mean, you don't give them the key to your house.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to just, say hello to someone.
Right.
I really hate it when I go out for a walk with a dog, or something like that. I say hello to someone, and they look at me like I'm from planet Mars.
Right, like you're about ready to jump on them?
I know, it's not proposing or anything, it's just an English pleasantry, you ignorant cunt. Sorry.
But all you can do is keep doing it. Just keep doing it. And put a little bounce in your step and, hello, have a nice day. It doesn't matter if they respond. In the end, it really doesn't. And if more of us do that, then it becomes normal, then people begin to respond.
I think just saying hello is like just being happy in general. People seem to think it's weird.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll always go by what Dad told me when he was in hospital, when he had stomach cancer. It's not going to get comfortable. That's what he's told me, and I've always lived by that sort of those words ever since, and it just seems to be modern day life. I get at the minute, it's not exactly a lot to be happy about in some ways, especially over the last, of course, year. But at the same time, it's not the world ain't going to get any better just being a miserable bastard.
Right.
just say hello. When I say hello, just like respond saying, "Oh yeah."
Well,
I don't want.
And here's the
Like,
thing: these are our holidays, so we should be the ones that's most forward. We should be the ones that's most inviting. I mean, really, if you think about it, that's the way it is. If these are our holidays, why are we not inviting everybody to participate?
Not exactly. You're not going to build up a community being on your own.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Being hostile is not the way to go forward. Never is, never has been. When you're trying to build something up, you know, you have to convince people to come over, and being an abrasive asshole is not going to be the way to do it. You have to talk. You have to convince. And unfortunately, if you want to convince someone, you have to be welcoming too.
Yes.
You know.
Well, and that's how you convince most people. It's not by proselytizing. It's by being somebody that they want to be around and be like. Otherwise, the other thing, they call those preachers, and nobody likes preachers. Yeah. But everybody does like heroes. They like the friendly person. They like the person that they want to be around, and they like the person that they want to be like, and that's who we have to behave like. We don't need to be preachers.
Yeah, I'm not saying invite everyone round to a fucking drum circle or anything like that. Just don't do it.
Hands.
You know, just really.
But
just because someone
simple courtesy goes a long ways now, because it is so rare. Like you were saying, just simple courtesy. Somebody says hello, even though you're shocked. And why are they saying hello to me? Smile and wave back and say hello.
It's just respect. Something lacking in this world. Let's face it.
But
I don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, you should give me respect merely because I'm breathing. But all I'm saying is when I say hello, just have the common decency to say hello back.
Yeah.
Is that, like I said, I'm not going to give you the key to my house. I'm not saying, come round and fuck my wife or anything like that. But yes.
People are too cynical nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand.
And for good holidays like Halloween or Samhain or I can't think of any of the other names right off the top of my head, mostly because I don't speak the languages. Yeah, you have to build a community. You have to encourage it, which is, I think, part of the offering of the spirit food, the candies, the treats, whatnot. It's come see, I participate. Yay, we can build community and at least understanding, if not friendship. Come by. We can do something and build something bigger than just a bunch of individuals. But yeah, we're nearing in towards the end of the time I allotted for today. So if we want to wrap up, and then tomorrow we're going to be doing a stream at about the same time you wanted, Neil.
Yeah, we can do that. Still have a few questions if you're willing participants. Dreadwolf, able to partake, or are you busy tomorrow?
Yeah, I can partake. I can do that. I'll only be around for about an hour, mine.
Yeah, that should be fine. We should be able to wrap up within the hour.
I got work the day after.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap this up. I'll actually say goodbye first, and I'm going to let everybody know. Get out there. Don't be afraid to shake some babies, kiss some hands, put on some kind of costume. Be silly. Tomorrow is the day to do that. Hand out some candy if you don't have any candy, but you got a few slices of bread. Just hand out slices of bread. They're saying trick or treat. They're not specifying what kind of treat it is. If you have absolutely nothing, ask them for a trick. Trick or treat, trick, please. But yeah, just get out there. Don't keep your mouth shut. Do not keep your head down. Do keep your powder dry, because the shit's about to get real, and I'm going to pass this on.
All right. Sorry, Dreadwolf, would you like to go?
I'll tell you, like I told all my other mates who have been serious, it's okay to be 12 years old again. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Don't grow up. It's boring. Trust me. I've been there. It's okay to be a child once every now and then. Alright? Because being an adult is fucking awful. Okay? Just learn to let loose. Or if you want to go around in a skeleton outfit and look like a dick, it's perfectly fucking fine. Okay? Do not worry about it. It's perfectly okay to have fun in this. As much as they're trying to ban humor and fun in this world, it's perfectly okay to be a kid again. In fact, I would recommend that you actually do, because let's face it, being an adult sucks. I'll do anything to be 8 years old again. I want my Spider-Man lunchbox and not be judged for it. So, so go on, have fun. Okay? Go out.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Go wear a bed.
All right.
Go wear a bed sheet and go boo. Just do whatever you want. Just don't be a sourpuss. There we go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for the birthday messages as well. Hopefully the stories we shared tonight, as well as the many discussions we had, will excite and or exhilarate you as you prepare for Halloween. These stories are not just Halloween props to scare people, but rather an integral part of our very nature as pagans, because of the unique and special connection we have to the spirits beyond the veil. Never forget the greatness of our forebears who crafted the beautiful element of this tradition in order for us to have fun at one of the most culturally important times of the year. So stay great, and remember, be the man by day, werewolf by night. Tis the terror within the darkness, for the moon is also bright. Candles flicker and pumpkins scowl. 'Tis a silhouette astride a dark horse. Fear the worst, for it's a hellish one upon his pathless course. Have a festive Halloween, everyone.
And I will go ahead and say happy birthday, AethelWulf, and everyone have a jolly Halloween. Lorekeeper out.
Thanks.
See you, everyone.